And welcome back to the show. I'm Joe Concha along with my co-host Rick Unger, Heather Hansen, and Andrew Wilco. So the Supreme Court could rule any day now on the constitutionality of a key component of Obamacare. 7 million people, 7 million, could lose their health care subsidies if the court rules the law did not intend for the money to be used to buy insurance through the government's healthcare.gov website. Plaintiffs argue only those states that set up their own exchanges are eligible for those subsidies. But Republicans met behind closed doors today and plan to continue those subsidies for up to 2 years if the Supreme Court rules against the Obama administration. But they're also planning some big changes. On Sunday, House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Paul Ryan was dodgy when asked what Republicans intended to do.
But here's the question. Will you demand an end to the mandates, the employer mandates, the individual mandates, which Secretary Burwell said, in effect, would amount to repealing Obamacare, and that the president would veto?
Well, I'm not going to get into all of that right now because we want to see what the ruling is, but we want to give people freedom from Obamacare. We want to let people actually buy what they want to buy so that we can lower health care prices.
Okay, that went well. So we're joined now by Sally Pipe. She's the president of Pacific Research Institute. Sally is also a healthcare policy expert. According to Reuters, under the House Republican proposal, the subsidies would continue in a reordered marketplace without requirements for most people to carry insurance and most employers to offer it. Just want to note that. So, Sally, what do you make of this proposal, and is it dead on arrival if it makes it to the president's desk?
Right. Well, I mean, this just came out this afternoon on my computer, so it's new. You're right. I mean, Paul Ryan said on Sunday on Fox News, Sunday with Chris Wallace, that the Republicans were not going to release their actual replacement plan until after the court decides, which could be tomorrow, a week Monday, or the following Monday. So, the issue is about continuing the subsidies for those 6.4 million Americans who are in the 37 states that are getting subsidies because they're enrolled in healthcare.gov exchanges. And the law specifically says that the subsidies would only be available to those people on exchanges established by the state. And so that is the issue at hand. A number of senators, Senator Ron Johnson has been saying his bill would be to extend the subsidies until August or September of 2017. Other people are saying 6 months. Other people are saying till after the 2016 election. I really am very nervous about continuing the subsidies if the court in fact rules that the subsidies are illegal. I think, nothing endures like the temporary. And, if we start pushing that out and pushing it out, before you know it, the subsidies will be all right, and we will have, we will have full-scale Obamacare. So the issue that came out today is important. They're saying that states would be able to accept the block grant from the feds. They would be able to set up their own exchanges. They would get rid of the employer and the individual mandates. People could purchase HSAs. They could get tax credits from the state, which come out of this block grant. So it's interesting. I haven't had a lot of time to review it, but I personally like Dr. Tom Price's plan, where he says that we won't be continuing the subsidies, but what he will do, and what he hopes would happen to pass in a bill, is that there would be age-based tax refundable credits for those people in the states that lost their subsidy through this ruling.
Age-based, you haven't heard that mentioned very often, so I certainly agree with that plan as well. Sally, unfortunately, we're a little low on time tonight, so we appreciate you coming on and certainly lending your expertise. And as we learn more, we certainly want to have you back on again. So Sally Pipes, president of the Pacific Research Institute, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Wilco, your thoughts on Republicans extending it 2 years even if the Supreme Court rules against?
Too many of the Republicans do not have I don't want to be insulting here. They just don't seem to be able to make the case. Here you have a party that wrote this bill all by itself with no help or intervention from the Republicans. If their intent was to extend these subsidies to every single person in every state, then why did they not put that in the bill? And you can't say it's a glitch or it's an oversight. This is one of the most important functions of the bill. If they screwed that up, I don't trust them to run a lemonade stand.
Heather?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're correct, and I think that's why the Supreme Court is. I'm leaning towards thinking that they are going to say that the law is illegal, but then what? I do think the Republicans have to come up with something. I heard today that they're talking about doing grants to the states, which would be interesting. I don't know that that gets by the president, though. And then, you know, we've talked about this before, how the president keeps saying, well, the Republicans need to do something about this, ha, 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 and yet he's going to have some input in that as well. And they're going to have to come together so that we don't leave all of these people hanging without insurance.
It's going to be on the Republicans. It's just inevitable, and they know it. But I got to tell you something. This is one of the rare times that I get to agree with Andrew. But he's right, and this is something you've heard me say before. Everybody's trying to cast this case as if it was an error. I'm not convinced it was an error. I think that the interpretation is that by making the subsidies attached to whether it's a state-operated exchange, the government thought, or the Democrats thought, they were going to force these states where they had Republican governors.
Games then, though. Then they're playing games with people's health care. If you're so worried about it, you don't play political games with this. If you're genuinely trying to improve the system, they are playing games.
Well,
because if they wanted to do that, they would have put it in that every resident or citizen would have got this. But they carved it up between states with exchanges and the federal exchange.
No, I'm agreeing with that, but I don't think it's fair to say, I mean, it's not unusual to have legislation where you're motivating states to do a certain thing. So that's not playing games. The game comes in the lawsuit. If they're defending based on the idea, oh, it was just a mistake and it wasn't a mistake, that you could argue is playing games, but not in the original legislation. But, you know, we don't really know what their intent was.
And that'll have to be the last word. 5 seconds.
Such poorly worded legislation all around. It's a horrible act. Horrible.
I say get shot down. I think Justice Roberts wants a do-over and he's going to get it. Anyway, teen gets 25 years as a registered sex offender and banned from the internet. What did he do? Stay tuned.